G'day, I'm DK.
And I'm Ardeet.
Thanks for joining us for this week's Two Ticks Town Talk, a segment from the Australia Talks podcast.
Yeah, this is one of our favourite parts of bringing the podcast to you, our listeners.
So please enjoy this segment from the regular podcast.
I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. Across the desert, fair man. I've breathed the mountain air, man. I've travelled, I've had my share, man. I've been everywhere. I've been here, there, everywhere.
This week we're heading down to Tassie, to Geeveston. It's a small town in southern Tasmania, 62 kilometres southwest of Hobart on the Huon Highway. That's about 37 in the miles. It's near the Huon River, surrounded by some of Tassie's most significant forests and apple-growing countries. So it has a distinctive geographic claim, which some dispute. Its claim is that it's Australia's most southerly administrative centre. So whilst it's the most southerly town of any significant size, there are some that are more south that claim the title, and they get, depending on how you count it, they get counted as settlements or settlements or villages. So it gets down into a little bit of a definitional thing, but it's a long way down south. At the end of the day, that's how it goes. So it's also it's far enough south that on winter's nights, sometimes if you live there, you can see the southern lights, the aurora australis.
That's cool.
I would love to see that. Now, I know there's been a few auroras. This current sunspot cycle, it's been particularly active. I think I heard that there's something like 20-odd coronal mass ejections that had caused auroric events, which was, surpasses, number of cycles for a while. But, yeah, I have yet to see an aurora. So it's on the list.
I have almost seen one, is how I'll describe it. I was in Hobart many, many years ago. I think it was early 2010, I want to say.
Right.
And I was in Hobart, and when we looked south, you could see a glow on the horizon, sort of that greeny glow. But it wasn't. It was. When you're like out of the city and you sort of turn back towards it and you can see that glow on the horizon. That's kind of what it was like. So I don't want to say it was an aurora, but I feel like I can't claim to have seen one properly because it didn't really look like, a full aurora, but it was close. It's close
closer
enough.
than me.
It was still impressive. So.
Yeah. Oh, well, there you go. Impressive nature. Geeveston's also where they do the filming for the ABC series Rosehaven. So it serves as the town, as the fictional town's main street and central hub. And in fact, they've embraced it so much that they have transformed the Geeveston Town Hall into the Rosehaven Visitor Centre, and that's got memorabilia, cast photos, and a large Rosehaven sign up for fans. So that is something that's indicative of the spirit of this town, this embracing that change. Prior to European arrival in that area was the Aboriginal people who occupied it were the Tahuni Linga and the Malakurdi people. They lived off the plants and animals and seafood available in the region. They didn't establish permanent settlements within the dense rainforest. They're more seasonally mobile, just going through the landscape as the resources and circumstances dictated. So the thick forest canopy, whilst it was sort of, had a whole lot going for it in certain areas, it wasn't really suitable for year-round permanent habitation. So as is typical Aboriginal people, it is typical Aboriginal people that we talk about all the time. They develop these sophisticated knowledges of where and when to find food, but the densest parts of the forest remain mainly a place of passage and seasonal use rather than permanent settlement. Europeans came along and settled it, obviously. The first ones came there as early as 1804, but the dense forest sort of turned them off a bit. They concluded that that terrain just made it unsuitable for European-style settlement and agriculture. But in the 1830s and 1840s, there's a bloke, John Price, an early settler at Franklin nearby. He sold 640 acres of his land to Lady Jane Franklin, and this was part of an experiment in social welfare. And Lady Jane, she was attempting to help poor but honest settlers gain a foothold in the colony, so she distributed parcels of land to these early arrivals, and the area became known simply as the settlement. So look, life was difficult. Eventually, Lady Jane went back to England. A lot of the early settlers abandoned the settlement and moved away looking for sort of better opportunities. But some relocated a little bit more along the Huon River, and one of these was the Geeves family. As you would probably guess, Geeveston's named after.
I was wondering. I was going to make a joke that they're all named Jeeves, but it turns out that might be more true than not.
Yeah. So it was originally called Lightwood Bottom around 1850, but then the family name became permanently associated with the town, and in 1861 it was officially named Geevestown in honour of William Geeves, and then over time that became shortened to Geeveston. So the real transformation of Geeveston came with timber. In 1874, John Geeves, who was a member of the same family, built the Speedwell, a steam-driven timber mill. It wasn't a small operation. It was one of the largest sawmills in the southern hemisphere at the time. And look, that wasn't a coincidence that he did that, because the forest surrounding Geeveston contains some of Australia's most valuable timber species: Huon pine, known for its durability and beauty, myrtle, leatherwood, sassafras, blackwood, and stringy bark. So the Huon Valley region, including the Geeveston area, started to become a major timber production zone. By the late 1890s, the local economy had diversified a bit, but still remained focused on natural resources. Apple growing had taken off. By this period, there was 552 orchards in the area. So basically, the economy was built on two pillars: the timber and the local agriculture. The late 1920s saw the timber industry evolving. The town built one of the first paper pulp mills in Australia. That was when they convert raw timber into processed paper products. That created more value and jobs. And they weren't just exporting logs, they were actually manufacturing finished products. So that worked well for a couple of decades. Sawmills, apple thing. But then in 1962, Australian Paper Mills opened up a new pulp mill in Geeveston, became one of the town's largest employers. It was a big investment, lots of modern industrial processes, provided stable, well-paid employment for many of the local people. So it was a massive operation. Like, they got pulpwood, timber that wasn't really suitable for sawmilling, turned it into wood pellets for export, primarily to Japan. I think that was in that Midnight Oil song, and rest in peace to Rob Hurst, that Rip Wood Chip to... No, not Midnight Oil. Who was that? Red Gum, wasn't it? Rip Wood Chip. That wasn't there. I bugged up my reference, but...
Yeah. It sounds good. Yeah.
Rest in peace for Robert Hurst anyway. So at its peak, it was the largest employer in the region, supporting hundreds of families directly, and then because of logging contracts and transport and that, thousands more. So understandably, the town thrived, population grew, robust local economy. It was effectively the timber capital of Tassie. So it operated at that scale through the 1960s and 70s.
It was John Williamson, that wrote that song.
John Williamson. God, didn't even get close. Third time lucky. Thank you, DK. You'd bail me out on that one. Had too many things going round in my head. Unfortunately, then, there was the collapse of the timber industry. It was several converging factors had happened. There was changing global markets, the rise of environmentalism, and shifts in government forest policy. So in 1982, the paper mill closed, not just temporarily, it was complete shut down. So over 300 jobs were lost in a single closure, massive for the town. The economic foundation of the town just simply disappeared. Now, this was not a unique Australian story, as we know from our Two Ticks Town Talks. There's a number of resource-dependent towns that have faced similar collapses when industries closed. Then in 1997, 15 years later, the Regional Forest Agreement was announced, and that sort of put the end to any hope that timber industry would be happening, because it guaranteed that timber in the area would be protected for the following 20 years. So basically there was no chance of reopening. Businesses that had served timber workers and their families lost their customer base. People lost their hundreds of jobs. So it was looking grim. The town was sort of basically decimated, not just economically, but also in terms of morale and future prospects. But what happened next was demonstration, something that showed significant community resilience. Rather than just sort of accept that things had just gone to pot, they had a bit of a think about what they could do. And there was one bloke, Laurie Dillon, who was the local postmaster, and he started getting creative, thinking about the town's future. So he thought, instead of trying to replace the timber industry with another one, they should make a strategic shift and build a tourism economy based on its remaining assets. So it had forests, the very forests that were no longer valuable for timber, but now valuable as natural attractions. Town sat near Harts Mountains National Park. It was surrounded by significant wilderness areas. It had a lot of history. So the timber industry that had built the town was now historical heritage. So they thought, rather than hide this part, they would embrace it, celebrate it, and educate visitors about it. They had a whole lot of traditional people as well. So that's creative people as well. And as the traditional resource economy declined, artists and craft people, because of the natural beauty and lower cost of living and housing at that point, began moving in there. And those creative residents, they became cultural assets. And then in 2000, the Tassie government announced it would invest $4.5 million in a major project, the Tahuna, Tahune, Tahuna Airwalk. The mayor then, Greg Norris, it was his brainchild, and it was going to be a unique experience to get visitors from Australia and beyond. So it opened in 2001. It was a big investment, but they built a 596-metre long airwalk that takes visitors 20 to 48 metres above the ground through the canopy of the tall trees. So you're walking up in the canopy of the trees. So you're going through hue and pine and myrtle, leatherwood, sassafras, blackwood and stringy bark. It can sustain the weight of 120 people at a time. And there's 3 separate walks Together they can take up to 2.5 hours to complete. And the impact, like they did their projections on it, but they estimated 40,000 visitors per year. And in the first year, the airwalk drew over 150,000. So, yeah, it hit the mark. And along with the airwalk, they also continue with celebrating their timber heritage through public art. There's a local chainsaw artist, Bernie Tarr, and he was commissioned to create wooden sculptures of local heroes. They weren't famous national figures. They're sort of people who mattered to Geeveston. There was the swearing chemist who has his glasses put on every morning by visitors as a joke. The blacksmith, the policeman. Yeah, and I tried to look up a little bit more trying to find out about putting on the glasses, how that worked, but I couldn't get it. So if you're down that way or if you know about it, send us an email, contact us australiatalks@proton.me. Would love to hear about that. Actually, love to hear about anything that you guys send us. But yeah, if you know the answer to things like this, we appreciate it. So yeah, the swearing chemist, the blacksmith, the policeman, Olympic rower Simon Burgess, a fondly remembered elderly woman who was named Jessica Henneberry, renowned for her generosity, an apple picker, John Jeeves, town's founding father, a couple of people just outside the local bakery, and a timber worker displayed in the Forest and Heritage Centre. So they're all on the main street, done with chainsaws and chisels. So they're like a quirky, personal thing for the town, and they tell the story of the town, and they're all crafted from timber, like the material that actually built Geeveston. So it makes sort of Main Street an open air art gallery. And they set up a forest and heritage centre called the Visitor Centre, and it's got an historic display. So what was really, I really enjoyed about this was their remarkable recovery, the scale of it, and it was a pretty quick achievement. They didn't sort of artificially try to prop up a dying industry. Instead, they reinvented themselves. So their economy today is tourism driven. They've got the Main Street with shops and businesses serving visitors rather than timber workers. The community's attracted artists and craftspeople, and the Geeveston Visitor Centre is staffed and active. The town has built a Bendigo Bank, which was the first community bank in Tassie, and they established it when traditional banks closed their door following the mills closure. So that's represents an investment in the town's future. So it's a story of adaptation. Began as a pioneer outpost, grew into an industrial powerhouse, survived a total economic collapse, and by utilising its heritage rather than just its resources, timber resources, managed to rebuild itself. And while it remains a quite factual town on the edge of the Australian wilderness, its ability to pull itself up by its bootstraps makes it a significant case study in regional resilience. So I was mighty impressed with the effort of the Geeveston, Tasmania community in this week's Two Ticks Town Talk.
That's awesome, actually.
Isn't it?
So often we cover towns that their glory days are long behind them, and the town is unfortunately very few people live there, sort of eking out a living doing something, but obviously the glory days behind them. But it sounds like Geeveston didn't want to go quietly into that good night. They saw an opportunity, grabbed it with both hands, and have made a success of it, which is so good. And I love, like you said, they didn't try and prop up a dying industry or sort of just were really stubborn about which I feel like is human nature in a way, where we're like, no, we can force the thing to keep going. It's not over yet. It's over when I say it's over, But they didn't do that. They went, yep, okay, look, we got to do something. We got to, either we die or we change, and they've changed, and I think they've grown stronger for it. So that's really cool. Actually, it looks like a beautiful area. Actually, I wouldn't mind. I can't say I've got a Tassie trip in the plans, but that area is known for its giant trees and things like that. So
I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I might have to get down there and maybe do a day trip to Geeveston, and it looks like they have quite a nice bakery there along the main drag. So might have to pop in for a pie or something like that.
Yeah,
one day.
And while they did have, they mentioned those were back in my notes. Yeah, so they had like the local postmaster, Laurie Dillon, who sort of championed the creative thinking, and then who was the mayor? Give him credit, Greg Norris with the Tahuna, I think it's pronounced Tahoon Airwalk. Whilst they sort of stand out as a couple of people, and Bernie Tarr, who was the commissioner to do the wooden sculptures. That doesn't work unless you've also got the community behind you. So you often find that people just sort of give up and go away. But these people were obviously persuasive enough, and the community was obviously committed enough to the area that they supported these ideas. And I just love that it paid off.
Yeah, it's great to see a community come around and actually actually vote in their interests for once. I feel like so often we can be against that. I am looking at the temperatures, the average daily temperatures though, down there. Oh, I'm not sure if
It's not going to be warm, is it?
No. It looks like February on average seems to be their sort of warmest and driest, because of course they do get quite a lot of rain down there, and we're talking a high of 22 and a daily mean of a minimum of 9.9. So just a bit,
you'd have some difficulty.
Yeah, definitely. So I might have to put the ski jacket on and head down there, but I'll stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, that was a Queenslander, are you, mate? Yeah, how'd you pick?
But yeah, look, Tassie's beautiful, and I love these sort of stories about little towns that they just keep it on, and I love that. So if you're from Geeveston, or you've been to Geeveston, or you know someone from Geeveston, let them know that we're thinking about them, and one day we'll get down there. I don't know when, but one day.
Let's hope so.